Coming up today to start a new week of the Leipzig Loko, we host Hoffenheim in what could be a game where we find ourselves back inside of a European qualifying spot. And speaking of Europe, first up today, we take on a potentially tricky Luzern team in what could be a banana skin game in the Conference League. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 76 of the Leipzig Loko with Lokomotive Leipzig here on Sean Does FM. I hope you are doing well and coming today is two home games for us. First up in the Conference League, we do take on Luzern. Those guys are down in 25th, but based on reputation, that one has the potential to be a tricky game. And off the back of that, we take on 5th placed Hoffenheim in the Bundesliga, just outside currently of a European qualifying spot. So if you're looking forward to those two games coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But off the back of the episode at the end of last week, we took on both Bayern Munich and Paderborn in the second round of the DFB Pokal. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Just one game since then, it was away from home against bottom of the league Sandhausen. In terms of us, it's actually quite a disappointingly even game, this one, but thankfully early on we did actually take the lead. The nice ball over the top from Benedetti, and Angelo just gets that through the hands of Kastenmeier in goal, and we take a 1-0 lead just prior to the 20-minute mark. That was also a half-time score, but then off the back of the restart about 10 minutes in, a poor touch there from Amadou sets up for Richter. I don't like Amadou that much. I don't think he's going to be getting much game time throughout the rest of the season, but thankfully we did escape this one with a 2-1 win. It was the Angelo who adds to his goal by setting up Matty White late, and we pick up a 1-goal win. Overall, the stats in this game did just favour us, but thankfully that mistake from Amadou did not prove too costly, and we pick up a win. And what that does is keep us level with RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga. Hopefully might find a way to get above those guys in that second game of today's episode. We take on Hoffenheim, of course, 7th place in the Bundesliga. Should see you get into the Conference League qualifiers for next season. Exactly what we did at the end of last season. And first up today, it is a game in the Conference League. So far done very well in this competition. 2 quite good wins, albeit against teams you would expect us to beat quite handsomely. Today, we take on a team currently just outside of one of those first knockout round playoff qualifying games. They are down in 25th, and that is Luzern. And so far, this is the team who have the highest reputation we've taken on in our European campaign to date. So it could be a little bit of a tricky one, albeit at home. Hopefully, we can pick up a win, especially as so far just a draw against Trabzonspor. So it could be quite a good form gauge for us this game, seeing as one of our last couple of games, one of our more difficult ones this season, does look like it is going to be against that outfit from Turkey. But hopefully we can put out a good performance today and make it 9 points from 9 in our first 3 games in the league phase of the Conference League. And hopefully that will take us a step closer to making sure we will be in the knockouts of that competition in some form. In terms of injuries, the couple, still Manuel and Campanelli, are out with twisted ankles. They should be back for that Hoffenheim game. So hopefully we'll be at full strength for that one. But to be fair, Manuel isn't registered for the Conference League, and also Campanelli is a bit more of a backup option in behind Vochin for that competition. But because of the lack of options in that position, he is still on the bench and behind Vochin. The other changes going to this game, Alte is in there over Billy Camillo, giving him a much-deserved rest. Also Caesar at left back. We've got Bushuari at left wing, and also Xerxes in the attacking midfield. So a couple of changes there to make sure we keep our squad fresh going into the Bundesliga game. So hopefully it doesn't backfire here and we can still pick up a good result, our first home game in the Conference League. And this time I'm going to try and not talk over the Conference League anthem. We'll just get through the pre-match interview and also the team talk here, and hopefully can make it 3 wins from 3 to start off the Conference League. The game off the back of this also looks very winnable. It's our last couple, which could be a little bit tricky against Trabzonspor, and hopefully by the time we play Athletic Club Bilbao, not much will be riding on that game. Hopefully you enjoyed the music. Right, let's get into the game. It should be a game that we are winning, especially here at home, and we do have an early free kick here in our favour. Hurtado is still in this lineup today. He is going to be, I suppose, our first choice centre-back, albeit Alte certainly not a bad fill-in for Camillo, but we keep the ball here slowly and play it out to Vochin down that right-hand side. What can he do here? He plays a nice ball forward there for Mastis. Tight angle and actually beats the goalkeeper. That's very surprising. Thought there he should have squared that for Amadori, I believe that would have been, who was in the middle of the box. But thankfully, seeing as he did take on the shot, still gets that one past the Luzern goalkeeper. And thankfully, that's a very quick starter. Maybe these guys not quite as good as I imagine they would be, especially with this one being at the Red Bull Arena. Of course, that's where we do play our home European games this season. And we go off to a wonderful start there. Mastis does put us 1-0 up. And shortly off the back of that, we are in possession yet again. Xerxes coming in today for Daniel Cueto. Now Bushuari plays it up again to Mastis. Tries to take a touch there, maybe one too many. Got a little bit close there to the goalkeeper. He does make quite a good point blank save, but Mastis so far looking very dangerous on that right wing for us. And we are 1-0 up after 10 minutes. Again, we were on the attack there, but Luzern do get a chance to clear their lines. They do get the ball back. Thankfully, Vochin with some good anticipation there does get that ball back for us. Escobar up to Xerxes, picks out Cesar, and lots of space down that left-hand side. Far post there for Mastis. Gets lots of help from the inside of the post, but he scores a header usually. That's Amadoli inside the box scoring goals like those, but he picks up a very early double, and already we've hopefully done enough to make sure we're going to pick up 3 points from our third game in the Conference League this season. Mastis, it's a really well-placed header, just get some help from the inside of the crossbar, and nothing the goalkeeper can do about that one. And we take a good early 2-0 lead here, and hopefully from this point forward it will be smooth sailing, and we pick up 3 more points in the Conference League to make it 9 from our first 3 games, and that should put us in a strong position to be getting out of the league phase, and hopefully as well finishing inside of that top 8 to make sure we can skip around and ease our fixture congestion for the second half of the season. Of course, in the Conference League, only 6 league phase games to play. I believe in the Champions League, it's a bit more. That competition goes all the way through to late January. This it wraps up before the winter break, so it's actually quite useful being in the Conference League instead of the Champions League for fixture congestion. But not much happened off the back of that goal to Mastis in the 11th minute, but thankfully his first half double does mean we head into the sheds with a very comfortable 2-0 lead. Luzern did offer a little bit late on in that first half, but thankfully nothing we saw. And seeing as this game does look quite well under control, might be a chance for us here to make a few substitutions. With that in mind, I think we might give one of our young right wingers here some game time off of the bench, seeing as this is a competition we can do that in, albeit Mastis is on a hat-trick, but he can play striker, so we're going to move Mastis up front, and we'll bring on Danny Hummel in place of Amadori to play on that right wing. Also, Bushuari down to a yellow heart, albeit not sure if there's many good bench options for us with the likes of Angelo being quite injury prone, but we're going to switch our defensive midfield, so both Blome and Escobar can come off for Bullock and Benedetti, and Paulo Cesar at left back can actually play left wing, so we're going to take off Bushuari and bring on Tom Gall in his place and move Cesar forward to that left wing role. So a few interesting subs there at halftime, but hopefully we can still pick up and hold on here for a win in this one, maybe get a few more goals in the second half. We get things back underway in a pretty strong position, albeit Luzern get a couple of shots off early in the second half, albeit they also pick up a couple of yellow cards as well. But to be fair, this game hasn't been up to much, apart from those goals that were scored by Mastis. But as I say that, we do have the ball here and hopefully might be able to set him up here for a hat-trick now that he is up front, albeit this time tries to set up Danny Hummel there, and it was a good chance there for our young right winger who did come through one of our youth intakes, but unfortunately the Luzern goalkeeper with a good save. We still have a corner though to try and make this 3-0 far post. Unfortunately, Ote can't quite get on the end of that one, and also Xerxes misses out on that battle for the ball, but just going past the hour mark, still well and truly on the front foot. But still not much has happened off the back of that early double to Mastis. Just checking now on some player fitness and also just thinking what players would it be a good idea to save up for that Hoffenheim game coming up in the Bundesliga. Luca Campanelli does need some game time, so I think with our last sub we might bring him on. Hopefully, even though he's injured, he can last. He can play left back. We'll take off Hurtado and move Tom Gall to centre back for the last stages of this one. Hopefully Campanelli won't be too badly affected by that, but even if he is, a little while to our next Conference League game. And of course we do have Sika who can step into right back for our next game of Vochin is a little bit tired, so I feel like that's a sub that we can make in this situation with about 20 minutes left. We do get the ball back here, as it looked like Luzern might be on the attack. Now, interesting square there from Xerxes for Paulo Cesar, but unfortunately that shot quite weak, as is often the case when there's a bit of an open net from a tight angle, and the goalkeeper recovers quite well as well. Now, Mastis has picked up a yellow card too late to do anything about that with all of our subs used, but to be fair, this game has kind of died off the back of the opening 15 or so minutes. A couple of chances for us, but not very good ones, and we're going to pick up a very cruisy 2-0 win over Luzern. So in the end, that one not quite as much of a banana skin as I was thinking. Also interesting to see the Red Bull Arena in the nice shades of blue and yellow. That might make them a bit filthy on the other side of Leipzig, but we pick up a win in our first home game of the Conference League. We should pick up another in our next game, playing a team who are weaker than this Luzern outfit, and then things might get a bit tougher against Trabzonspor and Athletic Bilbao, but hopefully off the back of that result we should pick up enough points to make sure we go straight through into the top 8 of the Conference League and can skip that first round of the playoffs, the knockout playoff round. That's a good result for us there. Sees us joint on top, but these days a little bit below the likes of Bilbao, Lille and Roma because of goal differential. But we pick up a 2-0 win over Luzern in our third game of the Conference League. So a good win in that first game of today's episode, albeit not quite as convincing as our previous games in the Conference League, but that was expected against a team with a slightly higher reputation. And next up, a good chance for us here to get into a qualifying spot for Europe for next season, because RB Leipzig on this match day, we'll just find the right screen here and see if I can find the result from the previous day. They suffer a pretty heavy 4-0 defeat to Eintracht Frankfurt, so it does mean goal differential wise now we are exactly level with them, so even a draw from this next game would be enough for us to move into that Conference League qualifying position, albeit we take on a Hoffenheim team who are in pretty decent form so far this season. They are currently inside of a Europa League qualifying spot, albeit lately in the Bundesliga, their most recent outing was a loss to Eintracht Frankfurt as well, so those guys certainly doing a lot better than they were last season, and also before then got defeated by St. Pauli in the cup, but around that, wins over Sandhausen in the league, and by a bit more of a convincing scoreline than what we picked up against them, and also they have won Europa League games against Panathinaikos and Sparta Prague, so this could be an interesting matchup, but hopefully off the back of some decent recent form domestically, those wins over Sandhausen and also that one against Paderborn in yesterday's episode, we can pick up a decent result here, albeit as you'll see shortly, we are having to rotate our squad a little bit for this game because unfortunately still quite a few players are tied off the back of that game that we did just play in the Conference League. Potentially could have put out a weaker team than what we did, but our change to the usual first rotation for this game. Vochin is at right back and Company is on the bench. That is because Sicker, unfortunately, even though he did miss that Conference League game with an international break coming up, he's left early to go and join the Argentina under-23, so that's frustrating, but can't do much about that. Also, Amadou comes in this time for Hurtado, and in terms of up front, also Krasnicki will start over Mastis, a little bit tired from that good performance he did put out in the Conference League, and also, of course, Manuel is back from injury, so he makes his way onto the bench over Racine Bullock for this Bundesliga clash, but hopefully, with this one being at home, we can pick up a decent result, especially this one being at our actual home ground, albeit to be fair so far, we're not doing a bad job at the Red Bull Arena. Hopefully that means when we take on RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga again later this season, we might not be as bad in that clash away from home, but of course they did beat us earlier this season at home, but to be fair, we made it a tight affair, but early stages here, Hoffenheim are on the attack. Ryan heads that one away, and thankfully it does find Angelo back in the team. Are those two off the back of our previous game in the Conference League. Now Escobar plays one over the top, but unfortunately that one is a bit too deep for Ryan to get on the end of it. It is Hoffenheim here who start to make their way out from the back. Demar will there play that one up for Muller. Nice ball out there for Dolling. He does quite well to beat his man. Tight angle, Ivizic comes up with a save, but unfortunately Max Muller, who played that nice ball out there for Bolling, is following it up. That save from Ivizic falls right into his path, and unfortunately, after only 5 minutes, we go 1-0 down, and it's a complete swing from that previous game that we did play in the Conference League. I believe that would have been Vochin. Not great defensive work from him there. Ivizic with a good save, but unfortunately, No one is marking Millerstedt, and he picks up a goal, which to be fair, he kind of deserves for that nice ball. He did play out to the left-hand side, and we go 1-0 down early, even though so far this game, stats-wise, has been pretty even, as both teams pick up a yellow card. The centre-back shortly off the back of that goal, ours to Amadou, and there's to Ozan Kabak, but there is a free kick here in our favour just coming up to the 20-minute mark. Escobar here on the ball, plays that one over to Blome, his defensive midfield partner. Now Krasnicki gets in behind from a tight angle, though takes that one a bit too close to the post, and unfortunately we cannot get a shot off, and unfortunately the shot there from Escobar, which we eventually get off from a much better angle, it does get blocked and is saved by their goalkeeper. So halfway through the first half, even though in terms of shots and shots on target we're slightly edging things, that's not reflected in the scoreline. That goal to Millerstedt does mean that Hoffenheim are 1-0 up and just past the half-hour mark. It is a throw-in here in their favour, albeit good work there from Cueto to make the most of some sloppy touches there from Hoffenheim. And now we try and play a ball forward there. Thought it might have been for Angelo or for Ryan, but unfortunately just a bit too much on that, and we can't get on the end of it, albeit terrible back pass there, and Nicolo Amadori will make the most of it. It's an absolute gift, but thankfully he makes the most of it, does our Italian striker, and that is an absolute gift to get us back in this game at 1-1. Here it was Cade on the ball, just starts to turn his back to goal. To be fair, good pressure there from our left-hand side, and their goalkeeper comes out and didn't really need to, and it's a big open net there for Amadori. Thankfully this time we put it in that net. We definitely haven't done that in the past sometimes, and we do grab an equaliser just before halftime. Hopefully we can go into the sheds locked up at 1-1, albeit as I say that may be a chance here for us to take a 2-1 lead, albeit might be in for some subs here at halftime as Ryan has just picked up a yellow card. But we keep the ball here around the halfway line, albeit Amadori a bit loose there. A little bit helter-skelter as Cueto does get brought down, back on the ball, makes a good run, tries to chip that one over the goalkeeper, but Kabak there is able to tidy things up so we don't make the most of that good chance late in the half to potentially go 2-1 up. So far the Hoffenheim defence has saved them a couple of times, but not too disappointed to be locked up in this game at half-time. To be fair, Hoffenheim got off to a good start. We started to get into our flow and thankfully made the most of that gift to Amadori. We're going to take off both of these players here on yellow cards. So Hurtado will come on for Amadou. Also Caesar will come on for Ryan. So those will be the two subs that we do make at halftime. But otherwise, most of the other players out there are on pretty good ratings. We'll tell the guys doing well, capable of better, and hopefully that sparks reaction in the second half as we get things back underway, locked up at 1-1. A point from this game, as I said earlier, would be enough for us to move into that 7th position, which would be a Conference League qualifying spot for next season. Would be nice to qualify for Europe again through the league, but of course, the way the Conference League looks this season with no English team, there is a chance that maybe it's going to be easy to actually qualify for Europe through trying to win that competition. But already in the second half, Vochin is down to a red card, of course, having played that previous game in the Conference League. So we're going to bring on Campanelli for him, and also Escobar just struggling ever so slightly, so Benedetti can come on for him. It does still mean we've got one more sub left for the remainder of this game, but only 25 minutes left, still locked up here at 1-1, slightly on the front foot, albeit as I say that, it is a corner here for Hoffenheim. They go far post, and that one has gone over the line from Anselmo Garcia McNulty. It must have just gone over, a la the penalty shootout between USA and Sweden at the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, and that's the first time I've seen that. Benedetti heads that one away, but must have been behind the line. It's a terrible angle there for goal line technology, but it must have been a goal, and we go 2-1 behind there in slightly dodgy circumstances. It might be time for us also to make our last sub. Both our wingers are down to poor ratings, so Musties can come on for Krasnicki on that 6.3. Also, we'll put him on a tag that has worked in the past, especially in that Schalke game before that episode at the end of last week. But unfortunately, shortly off the back of that, it is a highlight here for Hoffenheim, but thankfully that one gets flicked on and Ivizic is able to tidy things up. But an interesting goal there to concede. As I said, pretty sure it's the first time I've seen that happen. One of those goals actually get given. We nearly lose down the ball there, down that left-hand side of theirs. And unfortunately, again there, that is Gil who gets it for Hoffenheim. Blome with a tackle. He gives away a penalty. I don't think there's too much doubt about this one. We will wait for the VAR check. To be fair, Ivizic has saved a couple of these so far this season. This would be a good time for him to do it again, but Blomé is going to get a foul against him. Now it might be time for us to go attacking off the back of this highlight. Hopefully Ivizic can make sure it won't be too much of desperation, but Merstedt picks up a double, and that's probably the goal, which makes sure that Hoffenheim pick up 3 points from this game. Now, after getting ourselves back into this one just before halftime, albeit it was through a bit of a gift, we give away a penalty, and off the back of that goal that was given through goal line technology, of course, it is 3-1 with 15 minutes left. It's now time for us to maybe check a few more players on more attacking duties, and also we might try a high defensive line and see if that helps us out. Also, we might also play a little bit wider and tell our guys to be more expressive, and hopefully that gets something going the opposite way off the back of these last couple of goals in a couple of minutes there for Hoffenheim. We'll just make sure there that we're going to try and get Cueto to ease off tackles. A chance there for a header, but unfortunately that one just goes over the bar. We are starting to run out of time. It's been a pretty even game, but Hoffenheim, obviously off the back of that penalty, have a higher XG. But apart from that, you'd argue we had the edge in that game, but unfortunately just not quite good enough. We were a bit poor defensively at times, and Hoffenheim did make the most of it. 2 goals in the second half, which were a bit unfortunate. One for a corner, just got over the line, and then that penalty. Blomé is giving a few of those away this season, and unfortunately it's a home defeat for us in the Bundesliga. Not ideal, but Hoffenheim, they pick up a 3-1 win, still making up for that big thrashing we gave them at their home stadium last season. Potentially off the back of that, they've now beaten us in back-to-back games, but that does mean that still we are going to be in 8th position and below RB Leipzig, just outside of a European spot off the back of that 3-1 defeat to Hoffenheim. And back in the inbox off the back of that second game of today's episode, that penalty towards the end really sealed that game for Hoffenheim. And as I said earlier, that's the first time I've seen VAR actually give a goal there from a corner, but it's a 3-1 defeat. Unfortunately, we only really created that chance through Amadori, which we did take, and even then that was a bit of a gift, but Hoffenheim, they deal us a pretty comfortable 3-1 defeat, and it does mean we are still in 8th on the Bundesliga table. So unfortunately, not quite making the most of the moment of the opportunity to get above RB Leipzig and back into a European qualifying spot. Hopefully, come the end of the season, that does not prove too costly. Also, Freiburg, Schalke and Gladbach very much in that hunt for that last European qualifying spot as well. But that will do it for today's episode. Good win over Luzern in what could have been a tricky game in the Conference League phase, but off the back of that, we do suffer a 3-1 defeat to Hoffenheim just before the international break. If you enjoyed those games in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. We'll come back for tomorrow's episode. We'll just look and see what's coming up in the month of December. There's a couple of games in between now and then, a Conference League one, which we should be winning. Eintracht Frankfurt, that one could be tricky. Those guys in very good form, as you saw, having been a couple of big names in the last couple of games. Then we take on some big name teams who are struggling. So I think we're going to come back around the Dortmund game. Just not too sure what other game will show you, whether it's going to be Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga or Trabzonspor in the Conference League. It probably depends on our form in both those competitions in between now and then, but definitely tomorrow we'll come back and take on, at the moment, top of the table Dortmund, albeit I imagine that might not last long with Bayern Munich having a game in hand against Bayer Leverkusen. We'll come back tomorrow, play that Dortmund game and win either side of it, either Trabzonspor in the Conference League or Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.
Thought I could do this, laugh through the sadness. Don't know how I ended up so lost. Sink through the deep end, hurt and defeated.